Hey everybody, still talking about the thigh here. And in preparing for a video on the muscles around this area, I thought of a few different things to keep in mind. That a lot of times we think about muscles in terms of their action, and that can be really helpful, especially it's sort of the purpose of taking a kinesiology class. We always want to remember that a lot of these muscles are for postural and stability purposes as well as movement, and some are mainly just for that, especially in beings, again, as I discussed previously, that stood upright and bear weight on only 2 of their 4 limbs. So in thinking about the muscles around the hip and femur, we want to keep that in mind, that a lot of times some of the main function of those muscles at any one time are to keep us stable and connecting the axial skeleton, our axial self, from our head to tail with our hips and legs. So let's think of those muscles in some large groups. We've got, let's think of it first as what are they doing if they are moving? If they are crossing the hip joint and moving the hip and acting on the femur, what does the femur do? As a true ball and socket joint, it's going to flex, extend, adduct, abduct, internally rotate and externally rotate, and circumduct. So we can think about muscles in terms of grouping them into those actions, and we can also think about them as grouping them into where they are in these areas. Are they in the front, the inside, the outside, the back? And often those will overlap, but not entirely. For example, the quadriceps muscles, this large group of muscles in the front of the thigh, mostly act as knee extensors at the tibia here, which would be right here. I'll show that when I do a video just on the quadriceps. But one of them, rectus femoris, crosses the hip joint and acts as a hip flexor. So again, you can't say that as a group they just do one thing or another. All of the quadriceps act as knee extensors, but only one of them acts as a hip flexor. There is a large group here under the gluteal group called the lateral rotators, and they all do laterally rotate the hip, but many of them do other things as well. In the back, we have the hamstrings that come from the bottom of the pelvis, cross the femur, and attach to the bones below the femur, and they act as hip extensors and knee flexors. Then we have on the medial inside edge of the femur, we have the adductors. Many of them are short and are acting primarily up in this area. Adductors, adducting inside. Some of them also act as internal rotators. So let's see, did I name them? We've got the glutes, we've got the quads and the hamstrings, we've got the adductors and the rotators, and the abductors, like TFL muscle, and some parts of the gluteal muscles act as abductors. So again, you can think of them in those large groups. Just don't forget that many of those muscles, in addition to skeletal movement or aside from skeletal movement, they act as stabilizers, keeping us upright on our 2 legs.